Karen,
Yes.
have you ever heard your body speak to you?
I've heard your body speak to me.
Hey, that was private information.
Wow, that's a loaded question.
Well, I guess it won't come as a surprise to you then to know that our bodies talk to us all the time and not in the way that you're talking
Okay,
about.
You're not talking about hunger, stomach growling, or anything
Flatulence.
like that.
No, nothing like
Burping,
that. Absolutely not.
sneezing. Okay.
Yeah, no. No. In fact, our bodies are talking to us all the time, but we're just not really good at listening.
Okay.
Now, what if I told you that your body has the ability to tell you exactly what you need and when at all times?
Well, I wish it would tell me more clearly.
And what if just by listening to your body, you could remove obstacles and even heal yourself of some of the most nefarious diseases out there?
That would be incredible.
Well, you're in luck because today we're speaking with someone that's here to show us just how to do that. If you've tried everything else and you're ready to be the creative director of your own life, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Skeptic Metaphysicians. My name is Will.
And I'm Karen.
And unlike Mulder and Scully,
we both want to believe.
So we've embarked on a journey of discovery.
We've talked to people deeply entrenched in the spiritual and metaphysical world.
We've thrown ourselves into weird and wonderful experiences. I even joined a coven of witches.
And wait, you joined a coven?
Yep, all in the interest of finding something.
Anything.
That will prove that there's something beyond this physical,
three-dimensional world we all live in.
This is the Skeptic Metaphysicians. Now, today's special guest has over 30 years working as a healer and almost 20 years of teaching experience. So you know that's a great combination. That she's combined several different healing modalities to help spiritual people identify and remove blocks that are holding them back from creating their healthiest, most successful selves. And it all starts with listening to the clues that our bodies are giving to us. Now, there's no way to really succinctly explain what she does and how it helps people. So I'm just going to let our guest explain herself. Welcome to the show, Jillian Schleger.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Now, we are excited to have you. We should set the table really quickly, let everybody know you actually graciously gifted each of us a session of your healing technique. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But first and foremost, let's us understand what exactly did I talk about when I said that our bodies speak to us?
You were talking about applied kinesiology or muscle testing.
And
what are those?
Yeah, can you go into a little bit more detail?
So applied kinesiology was actually developed by a chiropractor in the 1960s. He noticed that when he was talking to his clients and talking about something positive or true, their muscles were strong. And when he was talking about something that was not true or they were fibbing about something, the answer was no to a question, their muscles went weak. And this is across the board. So our bodies will say yes to us all the time or no to us all the time. And there is a way to listen, and that way is muscle testing.
Okay. So it's not like your body, a little voice in your body is saying, or no, it's actually you have to do something. You have to test your body by doing something that allows your body to speak to you through the language of the body, which is physicality.
And
Right.
you're not talking about like getting butterflies in your stomach or something like that, or are you as well?
That can be. I think butterflies in the stomach for us could actually be a no or a yes.
A what?
A no or a yes.
Oh, a no or yes. Yes, I thought you said a norious. I was like, ooh, that's a new term. I haven't heard of it before.
The same thing. I'm like,
Ooh,
what is
put in the spot.
Okay, so then you physically have to ask your body, does this taste like chocolate? And it'll tell you no if you're eating vanilla. But you're not talking such minute things. You're talking about like, is this good for me or not? That kind of thing, right?
Right. Yes. We want to be the conscious creator of our lives. And in so doing, we want to be able to know which path is the best one to go down to get us to our destination in mind.
So how is it that your body knows these things? Like if you're thinking about it and logically, but your body's telling you no and you're thinking yes, like how does your body know better than what your brain knows?
Excellent question, Karen.
Really good question. Our brain is usually aligned and agreeing with stories, facts, in quotation marks, from other people. So we think that we should grow up and be a police officer like our mom or dad, or join, be a doctor. But really our soul's mission is to be a chiropractor or a librarian or something different.
Okay. And so then like your body, it's like its own, your physical body is its own kind of consciousness that sometimes doesn't communicate with your brain consciousness.
Yeah. Our brain is like a computer. And what Dr. Joe Dispenza says all the time is our body is our subconscious mind.
Okay. I get that. That makes sense. But sometimes it's just so hard to trust your subconscious mind or your body. You know, like if you're not doing like the muscle testing that you're talking about, how would you know? I guess you wouldn't know. I guess that's why we're all screwed up.
That's why we're here, right? To talk about that, because people you can't always trust your intuition because it's your brain speaking. It's your ego. It's your mask that you're wearing. Your body, however, there's more than just your subconscious. Your body is your physical reality. Right.
So when people say trust your gut, and really trust your body,
right.
It makes sense.
Mm.
And getting back to the butterflies, if we're trusting our gut, oftentimes if you're on stage or you're about to go on stage to give a speech or to, do a podcast or do something where you're maybe a little nervous and you get those butterflies in your stomach and somebody says to you, don't be afraid. They're assuming that that physiological reaction is fear, but maybe it's excitement.
How do you tell?
Mm-hmm.
By muscle testing.
You can tell by muscle testing.
Yeah. So how does the muscle testing process work? I know you met with Will first and you kind of went through a session with him. His experience was a little different than mine. So let's talk about his first. How did that?
That's what's beautiful about this, because it's different with everybody. And we had a conversation before hitting record, and you said, how much can we share? And I want to share everything, about as much as you guys want to share.
Right.
I don't know. Everything is a little much.
Wait a minute. What did you talk about?
Well, no, she's just a flat out like, I want to share everything. Well, let's keep some things private, because not with our session. Our session, everything that we talked about is perfectly fine. In fact, by the time people listen to this, if you haven't listened to a previous episode and talked about the cancer that I was fighting, this might be the time that you find out. In fact, in order to touch on that, we should mention the fact that you are a cancer survivor as well. And through a course of several different things that happened, it brought you to learning this modality, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So then when you and I spoke about my immediate problem, which was prostate cancer, one of the things that really stood out to me was the fact that you said, when you remove the energy from something, it can't survive. So essentially what we did was we removed the energies around that thought process, and therefore that wasn't able to exist. Now, spoiler alert, my latest biopsy showed all benign, right? You couldn't see anything. I'm not necessarily saying that this is the reason, but my question to you, because we did it not very long ago, could it have worked that quickly, or is this something that probably people have to wait months and years of applying this technique before something as severe as cancer would go away?
I think it depends on the person and your belief and your ability to be open to change. I had cancer in the past. I also had something called hidradenitis, which is, cancer's nasty, but this is nasty as on a totally different level. It's where the tissue of the skin or tissue underneath the skin starts to eat itself. It's almost a flesh-eating disease. And no one really knows what it is or why it occurs. And I had it on and off for years. And I finally just got really sick of no answers. So I just tried to pull the energy out of it. And within a very short amount of time, it went away. It dissolved and it did not come back.
And this is something you had for years.
Years. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one of the interesting things I found about your modality is that it's really about visualizing, but with an emotional connection to it. You look at something that you're emotionally connected, there's an energy behind it, and then you physically, through visualization, physically kind of bring it down to, I mean, the way we talked about it was like a dial, like from 1 to 10, and you just take that dial, if you're feeling a 10, just drag it down to a 1, and then you see, is it still there? Is it gone? How do you feel? Is the anxiety still there? What number is it at? And it's really, you learn to intuitively listen to your body without having to actually do the muscle test. And we'll go over the little trick that you gave us to do the muscle test in a minute. But what I can tell you is that there was a situation that the energy behind what happened at 3 years ago or whatever, when I was diagnosed, that was high energy, high anxiety. Mm-hmm. And when I physically used that dial to bring it down, it was a little stubborn. It came back to probably like a 8 or 9. And it hopped back up to a 5, forced it back down to a 0. And eventually it seemed like it was right around there, like 1, 2, 3 area, which was great. But then the added benefit, if nothing else, is that suddenly that anxiety, that those emotions I had in me were a lot less than it was when we first started. So this thing is really good for lots of different things, right? It's not just, now let's put in the disclaimer, this does not substitute you talking to your medical doctor and the whole deal, but this could potentially help you to heal some stuff, but also it can help with subconscious blockages that you have as well.
Yeah, that's the most fun. I think with creating our own reality, we get this tool, and there's a lot of modalities that talk about theater of the mind or using something in front of you that you're looking at, like a frame in the Silva method. By using the kinetic divination tools, we're showing our body, our mind, our subconscious, this is what's in my life, but I would like this instead. So with the body as a subconscious mind, we're actually showing the subconscious, I want this, but I want that.
Can I just say that I love that term, kinetic divination? I think I mentioned to you during our session too. It's a very cool term.
I had a lot of struggle with that name.
A lot of struggle?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because I want it to be open for everyone to be comfortable to use these tools. And I think there may be some people who go, divination. Actually, story. I moved to Nova Scotia from Ontario, and a family member said, well, there's a health and wellness expo. Why don't you phone them and see if you can get a table? So I did. And they said, well, we'll check you out. And that's fine. So I gave them my website, and they went to it and they said, ooh, yeah, you're not a good match. They didn't let me in because of the word divination.
Oh, you're kidding.
Really?
Yeah. I love the name too, so I'm glad to hear that you like it as well. But I did struggle with keeping that name.
Yeah, I guess for those that aren't in this space that we're in right now, the term divination does have a carnival type of imagery behind it, right? The gypsy with the crystal ball for telling your future. And unfortunately, there's a lot of charlatans out there that practice this kind of term around. But I guess that's the challenge. Though we are talking about this from a metaphysical, spiritual point of view, and this does help tremendously in that sense. When you take out all the woo, at the end of the day, this is really a great psychological tool to help you to remove blocks and able to, let's back to the metaphysical, manifest your own reality in the way that you want it to.
Well, I think one of the greatest things about it is that it's hands-on. It feels like you are back in the driver's seat with your body, with your subconscious, with your choices. It gives you a tool that you can actually physically interact with.
And I like there are a few different tools that you have, because my session was a little bit different than Will's. I think Will, I don't know if it's about being receptive. I think I just have like a stubborn ass subconscious, not letting anyone.
It's a comfort level.
Something, yeah. But it was so many of the questions she was asking me, is your subconscious willing to? And it's like, nope. I'm like, really? I said that?
Yeah, I could see that.
It's kind of bitchy. I'm like, this is good for you. Shut up. Say yes.
All right. So I guess we probably have to touch on your session then, Karen, because...
Well, let's start with yours.
Well,
because they're just so we can get the contrast.
Have we not been speaking about mine all this time?
Well, really? I mean, no.
Okay. So the way that it worked for us is we had a conversation ahead of time. We talked about different challenges, and she has this really cool canvas that she would put down keywords and to help us to understand what it is that we're battling, truly at the heart of it. Not, well, I can't sleep well at night, right? So what's hidden behind it? And we dove deeper into each one of those things until we found what we felt was the crux of the situation. And then we used a meditation, a very brief meditation. We used the Silva method.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you who are not familiar with the Silva method, it is a really old, my parents were doing it when I was 5, 6, 7 years old. And they taught me some of the tenets from it. So it was kind of an old friend to go back to, something I haven't thought about in a long time. But use the Silva method, which is a count from 3 down to 1, and it gets you into the alpha state. And that way it kind of removes any kind of blocks that you might have between you and your body so that you can communicate freely. Mm-hmm. And then after I was in that ready state, which I should mention, one of the things that you mentioned, Jillian, is that you were never able to muscle test appropriately or correctly until you started doing a meditation. If you were too close to it, it wouldn't work for you.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about the map of consciousness, and I was in a resonance of shame, which is the lowest point of the map of consciousness. It's at 20 megahertz. So to accurately, like Dr. David Hawkins says, to accurately muscle test and receive answers from our body, we need to be at the energetic resonance of 200 or courage or above. So doing the Silva method is one way where we can unhook from the high functioning beta brain where we're trying to analyze. I'm totally analytical. I analyze everything. So the Silva method allows us to get into the alpha state, and that detaches from the beta. And then we can allow ourselves to kind of raise our consciousness. And the next step that you may be talking about next is after the alpha breath, we talk about and think and feel into the gratitude of something, someplace, someone. And that really jacks up the resonance of our body and our mind.
Right. And that's what you were saying. The muscle testing never worked for you unless you were in a state of gratitude. And that makes a lot of sense because you are raising your vibrations. You're vibrating at a certain hertz rate that aligns you with the language of your body.
Yeah, I'd muscle test. I'd be dating a dude and I'd be like, oh, this is the one. This is the guy. I can just feel it. And I'd muscle test. Is this the guy? And I'd get a yes. And then we'd break up a week later.
You go, but my body said he was the guy.
Yeah, my body liked him very much.
This is a family show, Jillian.
It was Mr. Right Now. No, Mr. Right. Mr. Right Now.
We can actually use that. I work with my clients sometimes to see where, muscle test the body, to see where you're actually attracting love or relationships or friendships or that job or that client or that money into your life. And we should really be attracting from our heart. And oftentimes we're not. We're attracting people from different areas for different reasons.
At which point then she had me, and I don't want to give it away just yet, but she had me do the test and I could ascertain a yes from my body from a no. And based on that, we narrowed it down even further. Now, we need to take a break. So when we come back, we're going to talk about exactly how you do muscle testing so that anyone listening to this right now could do it immediately with positive results. And we'll also talk about why Karen's maybe wasn't quite so positive. We will be right back. We're back on the Skeptic Metaphysicians. Today we're talking to Jillian Schleger, who is an expert kinetic divinator. How did you like how I twisted that around a little bit?
I liked that.
Is it divinator?
Yeah.
Divinator, diviner.
Diviner?
Diviner, that's what
I know. It just reminds me of Never mind. We're talking about muscle testing and how our body speaks to us. By speaking and being in contact or in tune with our bodies, we can actually help remove a lot of blockages that are keeping us back, not just physically, but mentally and psychologically as well. And right before we went to the break, we teased that we were going to teach people how to muscle test. So before we go into Karen's session, let's go ahead and put it out in the open. How does someone go about testing themselves right at home right now?
Yeah. So right now, and you guys can pause this, take a minute, and do some deep breathing to connect with your body. Deep breath in, relaxing, exhaling, and visualizing and repeating. Breathe 3 times. Taking another deep breath in. And exhaling, visualizing, and repeating 2-3 times. Another deep breath in. And as you exhale, visualize and repeat 1-3 times. And breathing normally, imagine someone, someplace, sometime, something, a pet that you love unconditionally. Someone, something that you're grateful for. And imagine that gratitude and ask that gratitude to give you an image that is clear in your mind of why you're grateful for that person, place, or thing. And ask your brain to turn it up. Turn up the gratitude. Turn up the happiness. Turn up the intensity of that gratitude. And at this space of gratitude is when you can tune in and muscle test your body. You're going to ask your body for a yes or no answer. But first, we're going to do a baseline. And you can do different baselines with muscle testing. One of the easiest one is pinch your finger, middle finger and thumb together. And then loop them together. So you're making a chain. And pinch really hard. And then pull against each other just to test, have a baseline test. And then you ask your body, what is yes? What does yes feel like? So you're going to say yes, 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 and pull against, and it should stay strong. And then ask your body, what does no feel like? Pinch and pull. Yeah, and your fingers may.
Karen, you have to be in a state of gratitude to be thankful when you're asking the question.
The other thing is, and I think a lot of some men and a lot of women want to feel and be strong and independent.
And in control.
And in that space, we're not allowing our body to feel that just a little bit of a difference between yes and no. But the next one that I really love is just putting your dominant hand. So if you write with your right hand, put your right hand on your clavicle, your collarbone. Put your hand flat, your thumb, your fingers flat, but raise your index finger with your other hand, with your just testing the baseline, pushing down. And that finger is going to resist being pushed. And then ask again, what does yes feel like? And what does no feel like? You just want to, sometimes it's that little subtle difference between yes and no. And you connecting with your body, you're allowing your body to show you what yes feels like and what no feels like.
Karen, did that one work for you?
So this is the issue that we had during my session. And I don't know if it's something about my subconscious wanting to stay in control, but the thing that I loved so much about Jillian was that she did not give up on me. And we went through a few different tests, and somehow she got this information out of me that was nothing like what I thought we were originally going to talk about. Because we kind of talked about just need to feel like I can do things again, and I've become invisible, and I want to, be this person that I used to be. And now I'm just, it's all about me, Will. Sorry. You opened the can of worms.
No, I want it to be about you.
So by the end of the session, we realized that really what my I guess, blockage or whatever is this really incredibly strong sense of emotional responsibility I have about my family. Like I feel like I hold all of their emotions because of me, they're holding it together, which obviously cannot be the case. But when she was asking, like my subconscious or my higher self, are you willing to let go of that? It was like, no, because I think feeling like if I let go, it's going to be bad for them. And I can't let that happen.
It's also part of your identity.
And it's become such a part of me. Well, I cry all the time, but this time it was like, it was incredible. And then we talked about the intentions, and that's something I'm still doing all the time. And thank you so much for that tool. I love that. But it was a great session. I mean, like I said, I was like, this isn't going to work. And then I felt bad because the stuff was working for me, but she never made me feel comfortable to say, yeah, it's not working, instead of, oh, I feel bad.
Right.
And then to keep pushing through and figuring out a way to really discover what was going on and to help me with that.
Right.
It's all feedback.
And I suppose that if you were to do this in person with a kinesiologist, you put your arm out and they would push it down or not. And then really it's not up to you. It's to your body either allowing it or doesn't. So it's almost like a psychological mind trick that you're playing on yourself, that you're not allowing yourself to really feel the difference because it's you yourself. Right? So I understand.
Yeah, I have a really fun story. I'm writing a book for Hay House. It's called Dancing with Shadows.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yes.
Thank you. So kind of a preemptive, I went into schools to talk to the kids about bullying and what it does to your body. And I had a classroom full of kids. I brought one kid up to the front of the class with me, and I had cards with positive and negative words on them. So the one kid faced away from the class, and I showed this card to the class of the other kids. They read the word. They did not say it. If the word was positive, and all the class was thinking the positive word and projecting it, thinking it written on the kid's back. If it was positive, the kid tested strong. If the word was negative, the kid tested weak. And the kid never saw the word.
Wow.
Interesting.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. Just goes to show you that there's a physical response that you don't have to have belief. It's there or it's not. I think when your brain comes into it, that's when things become a little bit more challenging for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have all these stories of what we should do or be or can do or be that gets in the way of us creating the life we desire.
And I think for me, part of it was also my parents split up when I was really young, and my mother, her thing was you have to go to school, you have to be independent, you have to, get your career. You don't need anybody. You have to be strong, 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 strong. So maybe saying yes to everything to me was more of a weakness than a strength. And like, you have to say no, and this doesn't work. Or, I don't know. I think maybe somehow my body might be a little bit muddled on what really being strong means, and independent. So that might be part of it too. Like, it's kind of been ingrained since I was, 7, 8 years old.
Sounds like you're going to have to talk to Jillian a lot coming up here.
Well, and there is quantum entanglement.
Mm.
So we become entangled with other people's perceptions, energies, thoughts, beliefs.
That's true.
That now you're opening up a whole other can of worms that, how do you disentangle yourself at the quantum level?
I've been reading your Facebook posts and I love them. I'm like, oh, look at this thing. So, follow her on Facebook. Well, she posts great stuff.
Disentangling. Oh, thank you. Disentangling is just, I eject this from my body.
Yeah.
And you bring up that term that I wanted to bring up because it was so cool. We both agreed that when you used it with us, we both just lit up, right? When we had, one of the things we talked about is empathy and taking other people's energies or other things' energies into us that doesn't really belong there. Mm-hmm. And you said very simply, just when you're doing these types of exercises, it's a very simple phrase to tell yourself, and that is, I eject all outside energy. And I'll tell you what, when we both had the same response, that is such a powerful phrase that when we say it to ourselves, it gives us a sense of peace and reduces that energy so much that it's become our mantra now, our everyday mantra.
And then add to that what you told me, I claim my body. Yes, that to me. So first I eject and then I claim. That's my
Well, she didn't tell me to claim, so maybe she didn't want me to claim my own body. She wanted me to.
I just had more issues than you.
But
I think men are raised to own their own bodies. I think women, and I think in the olden days, when we had the coming out party, we were actually claiming, hey, we're an adult now. We don't have that anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
That's very true. Yeah. So then after we did the muscle testing and we got a baseline as to what was yes or no, then was the fun part. Then we started asking questions about that particular topic that we had narrowed it down to and saying, is this mine? Is this not? Is this, is that, whatever? And then depending on the answers, we then took it a step further. And that was the visualization process, right? And I loved your image of the big whiteboard.
The number.
With the number line on it. Yeah. And that's what I was talking about earlier, because my particular challenge was a heavy duty number like 910. The energy that was charged with such negative energies that with your help, you asked me to grab that energy in that timeline that was 910 and physically drag it down to a 1. And then you had different versions, right? One was the timeline that was straight across the whiteboard. The other one was like a
pendulum chart.
Thank you, pendulum chart. And and that's the one that helps me. That's the one I use as the pendulum chart. So I'm able to bring it and dial it down. And I guess maybe the act of dialing it down also psychologically helps me to really own it in that sense. Karen, did you use the same?
I think the number line worked better for me. But it was, this is another thing. It was like, are you willing to give some, let go of some of this? Nope. So that responsibility, it did change. It did get better. I think my results might not have been as good as yours because my subconscious is much more stubborn. But
yeah.
But it definitely did make a significant difference for me.
Yeah. In full disclosure, I was dealing with cancer, right? So I was very motivated to make this thing work. So because that motivation, whatever it took, I threw myself with abandon into this thing.
Mm-hmm. And when the desire is there, I used that to quit smoking.
Oh, wow.
To quit smoking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I did it one time and it worked. But my desire to quit smoking was at just the highest point. Plus, what I did, and anybody can use this when you're listening, or if you're listening right now, pause it and think of a whiteboard in front of you. And just like we use the muscle testing with the finger, or you can use the arm for muscle testing, the whiteboard is muscle testing as well.
But so on a quantum level, right? Because it's not, you're not doing anything. It's all in your mind.
Yes, it is your mind, but it is your mind relaying a yes or no response to your body in all of muscle testing. So even with a pendulum and any divining tool is muscle testing.
Right. You actually mentioned, and I forgot, you had mentioned that some people get to the point where they don't actually have to do muscle testing, right? You can actually divine it. You intuitively know what the answer is. As you started asking questions, is your energy here, is it there? I kept asking, but after a while, I would instantly know. And you also did a yes or no. So which one was lit up for me when you asked a question? And it's one of these things, it's so subtle and so fast that if you think about it, you're going to get the wrong answer, right? It's got to be something that is just an immediate answer. What is the first answer that comes to mind? And I was able to jump into it. Now, people say I'm claircognizant. So that might be something that helped, but I suddenly started being able to intuit the answer, and it seemed to have worked well for me.
Yeah, I think using these tools again and again will strengthen that.
Well, I've been using it almost daily since then, so thank you.
Yay.
They're easy to use. I like that. It's not like, oh, I got to do this. It's like, oh, this mantra or this, visualization. And it helps a lot.
Yeah, it sure does. Now, what kind of things can you use this for? Is there anything that you can't use it for?
I think the stumbling block is when we are hyper emotional about something. That's when it kind of gets muddled. Yeah.
That's when you need someone like you to help.
Right.
Yeah. And a lot of empaths. And this is why I'm very empathic. And I was told so many times growing up, stop being so emotional. And I thought when I was older, there has to be a reason. Our bodies are so smart. So there has to be a reason for these emotions. So this is a way that we can use our emotions as feedback. But if we're highly emotional about something, so yesterday I couldn't find my cat and I had seen a car outside my neighbor's house yesterday afternoon, and I thought I heard them say, "Oh, we'll just take him. We'll put him in the car and we'll take him." And then a few hours later, I couldn't find my cat. So my brain went to, "Oh my God, did somebody steal my cat?" And I was so highly emotional. There was no way I could muscle test. So I just waited, calmed down, intended for the best possible outcome. And then he came in a few hours later.
I was going to say, inquiring minds need to know where is the cat?
It is hard. I think that was the issue that I had. I was so emotional about everything. And, it's like, well, you're focused on, getting rid of the cancer. And that's something that you desperately want. And it's only a good outcome. But my mindset was, yes, I will feel better if I don't bear the responsibility of all these people's emotions. Good for me, but bad for them because they're going to be flailing. You know what I mean? So there was also in my mind, a negative outcome as well. So that's where my struggle was.
Right. And I think I kind of need to define it a little bit clearer. Yes, my motivation was to get rid of the cancer, but talking with Jillian, working with her, helped me to understand that there's an energy behind that that could have contributed to my getting it.
Absolutely.
And that is the energy that we were trying to completely deflate. Right? So that's what I was thinking about when I was doing that timeline. And, well, damn it, I'm going to say it worked. So, because then that emotion that I was carrying around with me is decreased tremendously. I'm hoping it stays that way. But if it doesn't, now I know how to bring it back down.
Yeah.
Well, and coming back to, thank you for that. And I'm so glad, I'm so grateful to hear that you think that this could have had any impact. But it really, I believe, does when we take control of our body, our mind, and our emotions. And like I said before, I was at an energetic resonance of 20 megahertz, which was shame. They've actually done testing and found that cancer grows at 42 megahertz and below. So I know that I was living in shame for decades. And that's such a motivating factor for me to come online, bring these tools to people. This is why I'm so passionate about not keeping anything hidden. I want people to know these tools because they're so simple. They're so simple and easy.
But it's not something that's intuitive. God forbid someone in the West actually says, "Oh, just think your cancer away." Now, everyone who's in this space who knows anything about metaphysics knows that it is 100% possible to heal yourself. There are full-on documentaries about healing yourself. Dr. Joe Dispenza himself healed himself with his mind from a terrible accident that he had, and he talks about it all the time. So it is possible, but you have to be in the right mindset. You have to have the right tools to do it. You can't just wish it away. There's some work you have to do. And so far, we've done, Karen, a lot of different healing modalities, a lot.
Yep.
And who knows which one of them, maybe a combination of them all is what helped get rid of it. But these tools, Jillian, that you shared with us are so simple and yet seemingly so powerful, because the minute I walked out of this room after our session, I felt lighter than when I had walked into it. So whether it is a placebo effect or not, I loved it. And I can't advocate enough for people to reach out to you to do this for themselves. Because it's nice to hear about it on the show. And sure, you could practice it yourself while you're listening to this or watching this, but please don't do it while you're driving a car. But there's no substitute to actually being in contact with Jillian and having her walk you through it. She's infinitely patient. And the way that she's able to find her way to the root of the issue is nothing short of miraculous.
I mean, I had no idea. I was going a completely different.
Yeah. Well,
So.
a lot of times our worst problems are so hidden from us because we're too close to it. So this really helped to reveal a lot of things that I didn't realize that I was still carrying around with me.
Yeah, absolutely. And then another thing I liked about the session was she was telling me to take your life and put it into segments. And just, if you're going to the mall, make that be a segment and then have an intention for that segment. So I tried it. And I'm running late to pick up Sienna from school. I'm like, okay, this is the segment, the drive to school. It's normally a 7-minute drive, and I had 6 minutes to get there. I'm like, I'm not going to get any red lights. This is going to be a great drive. I'm going to get there on time. And just us hitting the last light, because all the rest of them were green, it turned red, but it just turned green, and I did not have to stop a single time. Now, I'm not saying you can do this for everything, and you don't want to abuse it. That's the thing. I'm like, oh, I can't do this every time. But yeah, I don't know. All I'm saying is I got there in 6 minutes instead of 7.
Yeah. Segment intending is something that Abraham talks about a lot. And when you are segment intending, look at what you want to create, intend for, and have that the intention. So next time, and look for this in other areas that you're using segment intending or creation in general, look for the positive. So you don't want, so if I'm attracting a partner, a friend, someone to date, I don't want a smoker. I say I want someone who is health conscious. So I don't want red lights, and instead, I want all green lights.
I just was like, I'm going to get there on time.
Yeah.
I had 1 minute less than normal, but I was going to get, and I did.
Yeah.
That's a great point that we didn't talk about. You were very much about keeping it on the positive side of things, because everyone knows manifesting. You're telling the universe what you want, not what you don't want. And when we're negative, we're showing the universe what we don't want. I don't want red lights. Oh, well.
Yeah, the universe only ever says yes to you.
Right. So
if you say, I always get red lights, the universe goes, yes, yeah, always.
Yeah. And if you say, I don't want red lights, the universe says, okay, let's keep them not wanting red lights because you keep getting red lights.
Yeah, think about the active component of each sentence we say. So the active component is red light.
So then what you're saying is, I'm going to have all green lights and spin it in the positive. And that really helps.
Yeah. Same, like if you said, don't think of a pink elephant.
I refuse.
Yeah.
Okay. And I love that term, segment-tending.
Segment intending.
Oh, well, I put it all together as one and called it segment-tending.
Words up as you go along. You're
Works
just
great.
Yeah.
It's the language of will.
I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah. It takes a lifetime. All right. Well, is there anything that we haven't talked about, Jillian, I want to make sure that we touch on before we say goodbye?
I think this is a good place to just close out asking people to really focus on the positive. And please ask your body. Please use your body and your emotions as feedback. See the life that you see in front of you as feedback, not the end result. And be brave to choose what you actually desire.
That's great. That's great.
And if you are not understanding your body language, contact Jillian. She can translate.
She's the body whisperer.
She is.
Well, muscle whisperer is probably a better term. Well, Jillian, I can't thank you enough, not only for coming on the show today and sharing of your wisdom, but also for sitting with us individually and helping us to go through these things and maybe helping me to get rid of my cancer. So let's keep that positive. Thank you so much. And if someone wanted to reach out to you to connect, what's the very best way for them to do that?
And the best way, I'm always on Facebook. So you can come reach out on my main Facebook page, or I have a website that's JillianSchleger.com.
Easy peasy. We're going to add direct links to Jillian's website and social media on our show notes. So you can just go to skepticmetaphysician.com, find her episode right there in her episode show notes. You'll see the links directly there. It's just a click away. So once again, Jillian, thank you so much. Thrilled to have you on the show. And I'm sure we're going to stay in touch for sure.
And we're excited to see that book when it's done.
Yes. And when you have the book, let us know so we can put it on our show notes as well. We'll add a link to it.
I will. Thank you so much. It's been a great chat, guys.
Well, thanks for coming along on this journey of discovery with us. We'd love to continue our conversation with you on our website at skepticmetaphysician.com or on Facebook and Instagram under Skeptic Metaphysician Podcast. If you know someone who would benefit from hearing the messages we're sharing on the show, do them and us a favor and share the show with them. It will help get the word out about us, and it may just change someone's life for the better. And if you're listening to this on the radio and you missed something, well, not to worry. All of our shows, including this one, can be found at skepticmetaphysician.com, where you can also watch the videos or even send us an email or voicemail directly from the site. We absolutely love feedback and would appreciate hearing from you. I hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as we have. That's all for now. We'll see you on the next episode of The Skeptic Metaphysicians. Until then, take care.